had financial worries. Just getting a side together has been a challenge for coach Tony Miller. This is the team he's gone with. Andreas Bauer at fullback, Dean Colton, Michael Cody, Wayne Opie, Wayne Retty, Josh Whedon and Andy Speak. In the forwards, Alex Benson, Craig Cook, Mark Castle, Craig Holt, Ross Devorty and Ryan Steen. And on the bench, Gary Ellery, Scott Smith, Jake Bassender and Scott Jones. And the coach is Tony Miller. Well, the big absentee for Halifax this evening is Ben Black, out with a leg injury. Miles Greenwood is at fullback. Lee Patterson, Dwayne Barker, Shad Royston moves to the centres. James Haley on the wing, and Rob Warrancy is dropped. Halfback combination of Sean Pankovitz and Tom Hemingway. In the forwards, David Wrench, Bob Besick, Dana Wilson, Dave Larder, Andy Bowman and Paul Smith. And on the bench, Matt James, Mark Gleason, Saeed Tamgart, who passed a very late fitness test, and Frank Watine. And the coach is Matt Calland. Well, a beautiful sunny evening at the Keynote Stadium and a great turnout by Halifax supporters who've taken advantage of the generosity of their club. Halifax laying on free coach travel down to Doncaster to see this game and managing to fill 7 coaches. They probably could have filled a few more if they'd had a bit more time, but evidence of the enthusiasm building for Matt Callan's side, who, despite suffering that defeat against Sheffield last weekend, Phil, are still the side to beat in the championship.
That's right, yeah. There's a certain feel about Halifax. It reminds me of Hull Kingston Rovers going back about 4 or 5 years before they re-entered Super League. So much of what they're doing seems to be so positive, in particular the rugby they're playing for us here on Thursday evenings.
Yes, it's a tall order for Andreas Bauer and this Doncaster side. Matt Calland hoping for a response to his side. Sheffield Eagles haven't exactly done their South Yorkshire neighbours a favour by winning that game last Sunday, because it probably has put a rocket under this Halifax side. Robert Hicks is the referee tonight, taking charge of this game, and it'll be Halifax who will get us underway. And Lee Patterson with the start. And Doncaster will be just keen to try and settle into this game, to keep a grip. To be fair, they managed to do that against Featherstone for the first half last week, then got blown away in the second.
Part of the reason of that, they do lose both centres due to injury, and having been in the match at 18-12 when the half-time hooter sounded, that final scoreline, conceding 50 unanswered points in the second half, probably doesn't tell you everything you need to know about this Doncaster side. But the start has to be positive for them. Young players needing some confidence. But
what does tell you about this Doncaster side is the absence of Peter Green out there, a long-time player. Tony Miller will testify to that. Losing Peter Green this week, the latest player to leave the club, and really another consequence of the financial problems that this Doncaster club have got. And Peter Green offered better terms by the Sheffield Eagles, and he left earlier this week, and that is a big blow for this Doncaster side. And Paul Hanforth, another one to go as well, so they're really up against it.
Doncaster come into this game, they've got absolutely nothing to lose, and that can be a dangerous thing. They just go out there and play with a bit of pride and a bit of passion. And for the people that have come here tonight, don't give up, never surrender, and I'm sure they'll do that.
5 teenagers in this Doncaster lineup, and several of the players plucked from Academy Rugby League, up against a very battle-hardened Halifax side, who until last weekend had things their own way really in the championship, unbeaten. Oh, and Bauer has made a mess of that, and they'll get head and feet at the scrum. Will Halifax now, the fullback, not able to deal with that kick.
Well, an excellent kick, wasn't it? Forcing your opposition to show some skill, make a decision and gather a difficult ball close to the line. We saw Andy Bowman hurrying up, putting the pressure on Bauer, and Halifax should get the ball here back from this scrum.
The former New Zealand Warrior and Hull Kingston Rovers player not able to deal with that really wicked kick, and Halifax immediately threatening with Penkovic. And good defence right on that try line. Great defence from Doncaster. That probably has delayed the inevitable. Shad Royston it was, held up as he went for the try. And play will continue. Besick's pass to Dana Wilson will play the ball right in front of those posts. Bowman now, and Bowman using his strength to try and get over, and again he's held up. Bowman playing in the second row. The pass is not a good one, and Doncaster breathe a sigh of relief. A bit more than that, they managed to bring the ball away.
Well, the Don's confidence will grow if they continue to repel Halifax when close to their own try line. Great effort in defence. They've got possession now, and they attempt to roll forward to the halfway line. So one or two simple charges, but they were man enough to hold out this Halifax team.
Craig Holt it was who swooped on that loose ball. Oh, and then a knock-on, says referee Hicks. Craig Cook, who was the guilty party, just a little fumble at the play the ball.
Well, Dean Coulton gets up, doesn't he? Does he lose possession? He says so, although there's maybe some involvement here from David Wrench. He said he lost it as he tried to play the ball even before Cook touches it.
So errors from both sides early on here at the Keepmoat Stadium. Oh, a little fumble from Dana Wilson, not the best pass. Had to turn and get that ball. Of course, Halifax, prior to that Sheffield game, had a Titanic Cup tie at Casford, which they very nearly won. And that was a big effort, and a lot of suggestion that last weekend's performance was down to the fallout from that. Here's Bezic now, looking for some support. Penkovic, Paul Smith. Smith, long pass out to Tom Hemingway, and Hemingway on loan from the Huddersfield Giants. Back to Paul Smith. Smith for Royston.
10 metres well.
Royston plays the ball. Bezic's long pass, and again it's a poor pass, and again Doncaster are able to gather, and it's Wayne Opie who brings it away. So that's another poor pass from Halifax.
You get the feeling that Halifax haven't paid the amount of respect necessary here for this game. There is a strange atmosphere at the ground, and Halifax don't seem to be able to cope with that. Moving the ball around and not really having players hitting the ball at pace.
It's almost like they're throwing the ball into the space where they expect the gap to be, and the players just aren't there. They can't afford to keep giving Doncaster too much ball. Doncaster will gain in confidence. They're getting further down the pitch, getting to a kick now, and what can they do?
On the last tackle, the kick is from Craig Cook, and it's not a bad one. Not a bad one at all. A good chase as well. And Miles Greenwood felt that as the chasers arrived to make the tackle. Now here's Lee Patterson.
Well, Dean Coulton stayed on side, got up and almost contested for the ball. Just a little too late. Greenwood did well to intercept that ball wide out on that far left-hand side of the field.
Ross Devorty with the tackle. Bezic puts the kick in. He's gone for a 40-20, and Haley is chasing this one as well. So too is Wayne Retty, and Retty is going to have to play safe with that. What a good kick that was.
Brilliant piece of play there by Bob Bezic. His vision of passing has been problematic for the Doncaster, but to see the kick option there, to put it in deep behind, and knows that James Halley at this stage in the game will chase it. The length of the kick, the direction's good. Most people can kick the ball in the right direction, but it's the length of kick which is the hardest part of the skill, and one it demonstrates to perfection.
Goal line dropout first of the game. The ball kicks back, and it's in the hands of Penkovic, and Penkovic then to David Wrench, and Wrench driven back in the tackle. Benson in there, and then Benson concedes the penalty. Your pardon, it's Ryan Steen who was the guilty party there.
Well, held down there. You're trying to control the ruck at Doncaster at the moment, but basically they're going to be asked to do a lot of this tonight on their own try line. Can they hold out for 6 more plays?
Wait for the foot. Hang on, wait for the foot.
So the penalty gives Halifax another opportunity. They've had 2 already. Been over the line once, been close to the line the second time. Can they get over this time? Hemingway, Penkovic, Greenwood now. Greenwood has Barker outside him, tries to go himself. And again, it's good defence. Wayne Opie involved, Devorty as well. Penkovic still going. Wilson is just short of the try line. Doncaster supporters thinking there might have been a bit of obstruction there. Not the best pass either, just bouncing into the hands.
Well, Tony Miller will be delighted with the goal line defence here so far. The intensity is adequate to keep Halifax out.
Is it adequate now? Well, the knock-on, play on, says the referee. They will play on, and this time Barker surely will get over the try line. He has done. And Dwayne Barker eventually cracks this Doncaster defence, and ironically it was a Doncaster attempt to diffuse the danger, the knock-on, the ball batted down, and the referee waving play on, and Dwayne Barker on the end of it to take advantage, and Halifax eventually get it together.
Well, there was a penalty awarded. Ryan Steen, you see there, involved in the tackle, holding down David Rage far too long, and then they kicked it up to the try line. They demonstrated some forward passing the ball, that's pretty good skill. And then Cody knocks it down, but it's not long before it ends up with Dwayne Barker, who manages to spin quite well in the tackle. You know, it's a skill that's almost instinctive, isn't it? The ability to spin in the tackle. And Barker does it here, knowing that the easiest way to stop the slide of defence and get through the gap is to turn his body, put the ball over the line.
Try number 8 this season for the former Harlequins and Hull KR man, Dwayne Barker. Now then, Lee Patterson, this Halifax goal-kicking machine. Up to 48 already this season. It looked as though he'd put a bit of turn on that one, but it was across the face of the posts. But Halifax are off the mark. And Barker's try has put them 4-0 up.
It's all very lateral from Halifax in these early stages. It's pass to a pass. They're all quite long passes. Sometimes the nicest, sweetest pass is just a short one. Good line on the end of it. I'm sure they'll bring that into their armoury. Some inside passes, some drop-off passes, and some short stuff as well. They can't afford to just keep passing their way
Thumbs up from the coach, Matt Calland, for that start, but not thumbs up for that. A real schmozzle at the back, and Haley and Penkovic look at each other to say, I thought you were dealing with that, and nobody did in the end.
Well, a brilliant kick, because he was able to get the ball to hit the floor. Once that happens, you've bought a lottery ticket, and this one came up a winner. They'll get the ball back here now from a goal line dropout, and they'll have the first chance in the match to attack the Halifax team.
It hasn't been the fluent start or the fluent style that we've seen from Halifax so far this season. It's one or two glitches in the system at the moment. There's Benson.
So 2 good, strong carries here now. They've got themselves on a platform.
Cook guides them down the short side.
Move! Go.
Benson once more. Goes to ground quickly, looking for a quick play the ball.
2 feet. Go.
Josh Whedon now, the newly appointed captain, taking over from Peter Green. Here's Ross Devorty. Devorty trying to use his strength. He's got plenty of that. Runs in the family. Son of Gary. Plays the ball right on the try line. Little grubber kick through. Greenwood has made a mess of that. Little knock on, but it was a difficult one for the fullback to take. Right down by his toes. It was an excellent kick from Andy Speak, I think it was. 2
brilliant pieces of skill here in this play. First, the pass from the acting halfback was so quick, crisp and accurate that it gave the kicker the time to perfect the kick. Speak put it through the floor. Greenwood wasn't able to dive on that. It's a simple but difficult skill.
So Doncaster with a great opportunity to try and level the score here.
Go.
Whedon is with Andreas Bauer. Bauer, though, going nowhere. Halifax muscling up in defence.
That's 3.
Right on that try line.
Go.
Ball across the face of the posts with Mark Castle. Castle is tackled right underneath that crossbar. Now then, they've got maybe men out here, and one is Devorty, and Ross Devorty will get the try. No, he won't, because Robert Hicks has disallowed it. Said it was a forward pass. Tony Miller and Craig Hall sit alongside him, disputing that decision.
Well, nice play by Doncaster. Puts the ball in front of one option runner. It does appear forward into the arms of Devorty. He crosses and starts to celebrate, but it's momentary because Robert Hicks says, no, that's a forward pass. And we'll have a scrum with Halifax in possession.
It's a lovely line by Devorty. Seemed to find the space and motor through it. If it's a better pass, an earlier pass, that's a try for Doncaster.
Move! Go.
But that was a threat, and that was a warning to this Halifax side that they can't take Doncaster lightly. The Dons might have their problems at the foot of the table, off the bottom only on goal difference ahead of Batley, but what a hit that was.
That would have to be a contender in any grade of rugby we're going to watch this year, at any level, for tackle of the season. To stop Darren Wilson and knock the ball free. Great effort there from Mark Castle. And the reward is here now, firstly with a ball, then with a penalty, and they're only 15 metres from the try line.
So this is great opportunity. Offside, the penalty was awarded for. And again, Doncaster are threatening, and Cook trying to burrow his way over. Just short in the end. It looked as though he was going to get there. Wayne Retty will try his luck. He too is held up and then dragged back by the Halifax defenders. He's lost the ball, and a knock-on, says Hicks, the referee. Wayne Retty disputing that decision.
Well, again here, once you get into position, Cook goes hard and low for the line. I think it's an ambitious and perhaps a mistake by Retty here. Look, he stands up at that height. There's no way that 4 defenders are going to allow you to score. His only chance was to go lower, then he's dragged back. They drop on him, drops the ball.
Great defence from Paul Smith on the first effort, though, from Craig Cook. Royston now. Chad Royston playing in the centres. Matt Calland just switching things around a little bit. Ben Black absent tonight because of this leg injury. But seemed in pretty good spirits before the kickoff.
Another early kick.
And again, Haley chasing for all he's worth. And that's a 40-20.
Yeah, it's a 40-20.
Just wait for the signal from the referee. But Robert Hicks confirms another great kick from Bezic.
Well, this is now the second time inside the first 15 minutes of the match. I suspect that Bob Bezic will continue to do this because he is very good at it. And Wayne Retty will need to drop back slightly earlier in the tackle count.
Hang on, I'll tell you when. Come on, Cookie. 5 metres.
So having been under pressure on their own try line, Halifax back up the other end of the field now. Here's Penkovic on the pass. Ricochets off Royston, and Doncaster come away with it again.
Well, Halifax level of execution is far below what we're used to seeing this year.
It's just a small thing, but when a player is running onto a ball at speed, it doesn't have to be a spin pass. Penkovic's pass is a spin pass. It's very difficult to catch that at speed, and it has to be spot on the target.
Paul Smith not happy with that decision as Halifax concede a penalty that allows Doncaster to work their way up the field. The Dons have only won one game all season in the Championship, and that was by the skin of their teeth at Sheffield, a game you might have seen on Sky Sports. A really exciting finish that was at Easter. And they are in deep trouble at the foot of the table.
The nature of rugby league so often is that a team of youngsters will overperform. You don't expect anything of the Doncaster side. Halifax with all the star names, but this sport so often catches you out.
Whedon, nice little dummy from Whedon. Whedon still going and looking for some support on the inside. They're on the charge. Oh! And stretching out was Gary Ellery.
It was his first touch, hadn't he? He'd come on from the sideline, straight from the suspension. They'll have a penalty here close to the line, so they'll get the ball back. He couldn't resist the temptation to throw out that big arm. Lost possession.
But they get another opportunity here, and Benson takes the first hit. Just short of the try line. Cook fancies his chances, and Ellery will try again. And again, he's denied right on the try line. Whedon now. Whedon to Andreas Bauer. Bauer, little kick and chase, backs himself, and he could have got the try. What a try that would be if it's come up for Andreas Bauer, and it has. Well, what a little bit of improvisation that was from the Kiwi, Andreas Bauer. And that has levelled the scores here. And the underdogs showing a bit of fight here.
Oh, with nothing to lose, Doncaster throwing everything at them. Here's the first effort. They go close to the line here, and he throws out the ball, but they said to be offside, and that's why the referee allowed play on, but then gave them a penalty, which gave them this play. And what a play it is. Do you know what? This is such a difficult skill. To kick the ball so gently whilst running at pace is so difficult, and yet Andreas Bauer makes this appear almost easy. He puts it between two players, there's no collision there, and yet it sits up kindly short of the dead ball line, and he makes sure that the Dons have their first try.
Samoan international, and Andreas Bauer giving the home support a huge lift, and Josh Whedon now will try from the touchline to land this one in front of the Don supporters, but he's missed that one. But a good response from Doncaster. They level the scores at 4 points apiece, and what a piece of improvisation that was from Andreas Bauer.
I'll try and shout you if I can.
Andreas Bauer is probably one of the more experienced players in this Doncaster side. He's certainly one that his teammates will be looking towards. He's just prepared to get the ball, back himself, and as Phil's already said, it's a really difficult skill that, and he executes it perfectly.
Patterson went for the short restart, and Craig Cook, one of the smallest men on the field, came up with the ball. He was alert to that situation. Here's Gary Ellery, certainly made an impact since he came on the field, almost got a try with his first touch. Here is the try scorer, Andreas Bauer, doubles up as marketing manager here at the Dons. He's got plenty of work on his plate, just trying to really win some support locally, trying to get people back on board.
Here we go. Come here, hold, go. 10 metres fast.
And a really good gesture from Halifax to lay on these 7 coaches. As a member of the Halifax backroom staff was saying, we know what this is like. We've been in the same situation as Doncaster, and really living from day to day. So if you're in a position to help, then that's what you should do, and that's what other clubs in the Championship have done as well. I noticed Featherstone and Sheffield Eagles also doing their bit to try and help out this struggling Doncaster club. They're not struggling at the moment. They're level at 4 points apiece here. Halifax really yet to hit their stride here this evening. Not firing on all cylinders.
It's very hard when you turn up at the game without the necessary respect to then turn it on 20 minutes into the match, or even at half-time. And Halifax are finding that at present. They're trying to get some rhythm going, play a platform in the middle of the field.
Dana Wilson, that's the 5th tackle, plays the ball. Hemingway inside his own half, stabs the kick in. And Andreas Bauer, the ball pinging up into the hands of the Samoan international, then runs it straight back towards Penkovic, who stands his ground and makes the tackle, but Paul Smith, as ever, in support. Wayne Retty. Halifax fans just a little quiet at the moment.
Well, emotion and enthusiasm will take Doncaster to the 20-minute mark, which is where we're at now, the level on the scoreboard. This is where now they'll find a little bit harder. Physically, the challenge is more difficult at this stage. There's to be a test on the capabilities of matching it minute for minute with the Halifax team.
Oh, Devorti's pass is a great one. Another good offload. And the ball's with Retty. Retty now, has he got the pace? Well, he might have, but he can't beat that cover. Across came Gleeson to make the tackle. Another little stabbed kick through. This one will run dead, though. It was Andy Speake who put boot to ball. And they're going to go for a quick tap. Robert Hicks says, yeah, get on with it. And Patterson looked forward.
Again, a bit of a lack of respect from Halifax. I know they're trying to pick the pace of the game up. They're trying to play at speed, but you can't give Doncaster the ball on your own line. They're as good as any team in this division and will score points on you, we've already seen.
Gleeson tackled just inside his own half. Hemingway now. Here's Larder. 4 tackles gone.
Hold.
Bezic slipping as he took that ball up. So that's the 5th tackle. And Penkovic over the top. And Andreas Bauer, one of those fullbacks who makes it look so leisurely, takes his time, or seems to be taking his time.
Well, it can be a physically very demanding position to play fullback if the opponents continue to kick the ball to you. And Bauer now is being asked time and again, get back into position, take this possession and bring it forward.
Here's Devorty. Again, looking for some support.
Go.
Speak, little chip kick over the top. Speak, and he'll... Oh, well, almost got it back. It just pinged away from him. It looked as though it was going to sit up invitingly for him, but it just bounced the wrong way at the last minute. But again, Doncaster showing that really they've decided the best way to take on this Halifax side is to chance their arm. Haley chancing his as he flirts with the sidelines. Dwayne Barker, the try scorer so far for Halifax, who are level at 4 points apiece here.
Move. Hold here. Hold. Go.
Bezic, Larder, Tamgart has gone without that. And another error from this Halifax side, and Saeed Tamgart just on the field, just not able to take that pass.
Well, they have the look of a side that have turned up for an opposed training session, almost as if your sparring partners are just playing in white shirts, and hence the reason why they're being a little embarrassed at present. Passes aren't going where they should do. There isn't the accuracy, the clinical approach that you need to win a game isn't evident from this Halifax team.
I'm not sure they've taken this Doncaster side lightly. That certainly wasn't the message coming out of the Halifax camp ahead of this game. They knew that there's nothing more dangerous than a wounded side in the championship, a side, as Barry has said, with really nothing to lose.
He didn't even touch you, Craig. Go. He didn't even touch you.
It's just not
a bad dive, mate.
falling into place for Halifax this evening.
4. Move. Go.
Devorty plays the ball. Whedon's pass across the face, and it's taken by Jake Bassinder, and Bassinder tackled on his own 40. Whedon managing to find a bit of space for the kick, and Haley in a leisurely style across the field to gather the ball and then bring it back, but he makes the mistake of running straight at Ross Devorty, who halts his progress pretty rapidly.
I think that return just about sums up Halifax's first 24 minutes. Strolls upon to the defensive line and thinks he can just bust through it by those last 3 or 4 steps, and it's not going to work like that. Not tonight for Halifax against a very committed Doncaster side.
Greenwood struggling to get to his feet to play that ball. Larder, this time Tamgart does take his pass, but is immediately nailed. It's Whedon with the tackle. Gleeson now. Hemingway. Matt James is on, and James back to Hemingway. The kick from Hemingway, and Cook takes seemingly an eternity to get that ball, but eventually he does. Craig Cook.
Well read by Craig Cook, isn't it? You need to anticipate at times in sport what's going to happen a second ahead of the play, and Cook did that. Might not be as quick as some of his counterparts in the Halifax side. Certainly made himself available to take the ball, and again they're working their way up, completing the sets. It's good control from Doncaster.
Craig Cook, one of 3 birthday boys out there on the field. Well, almost birthday boys. Alex Benson, Dana Wilson and Craig Cook all celebrating birthdays tomorrow. Tom Hemingway not celebrating that decision.
No, but I'll tell you what, Michael Cody is rewarded here. His enthusiasm at hitting that ball at pace. Halifax have cheated, they've held him down, and they get a penalty. All because Michael Cody was prepared to run hard and strong with the ball.
1. Move. Hold.
So Doncaster in possession on the 40-metre line in the Halifax half, and here is Michael Cody, a former Loughborough University student, played rugby union at Loughborough, but wanted a try at rugby league, and Tony Miller, who has links with the Loughborough University setup, was willing to give him a go. Here is Josh Whedon for Gary Ellery. Ellery has shown up well. Former Featherstone Rovers junior Gary Ellery. And here's Ross Devorty, he's shown up well as well, and Ryan Steen, and Steen almost through. That's the 5th tackle. Again, on that Halifax try line. Little kick from Speak, and Ellery will chase it, but didn't quite have the legs to get there.
An excellent play for Doncaster to get to that part of the field. Oh no, here's an error from Halifax. They've attempted to restart it on the 20, but they'll go back and do it when the referee is ready. Now, how many players are supporting the man with the ball for Halifax? That's always an indication of how a side are thinking, how they're feeling. If you want to go in support, you might not get possession. There you go, there's an offload to Tamgart.
Great little offload from it. Well, he took it from Patterson.
He just played the ball, he's thinking, I've done my work, and I think that sort of selfless attitude has to come to Halifax now. You're right, Phil, pushing into the next hole, takes flies away from the bloke with the ball, even if you don't get it.
That ball batted back by Gary Ellery, and Doncaster have it back.
Well, they often say, who's the first to a loose ball? And it's been Doncaster. It's the reason why they're playing so well. And the scores say it's 4-4. But Doncaster are clearly heading so many of the indicators want to determine the winners in this game. Look, reads the offload, pushes it back to his teammates, and Retty picks it up.
So it's the Dons in support, in possession again. And they've lost the ball. I think it was Cook with a knock-on.
And Ellery shakes his head. Said no. Taken out.
I think Bob Bezic has pulled that out.
Around the ball.
Do you know when a player who's involved in the tackle doesn't automatically jump for the ball, I tend to think that he's been dishonest. Bob Bezic, nevertheless, has earned his side this ball.
Stand up. Come on. Tight heads. Hang on, I'll tell you when. Put your head in. Fine.
So Halifax head and feed at the scrum. Penkovic will feed it. Lada standing out of it, takes the pass. There's Gary Ellery losing the ball. Harsh call, that one. Now they've got to try and withstand another Halifax assault on their defence. Here's Saeed Tamgart, and Tamgart will burst of pace from the French international. Takes him up to the 40-metre line. Bezic now, Penkovic looping past to Hemingway. This is more like it. It's with Matt James, and James is motoring. James gets the pass out wide, and that one didn't stick either. Patterson couldn't take it, and again Doncaster have it back. But just a hint there from Matt James with that run.
Oh, we saw some athleticism here. He gets on the outside of his man. I'm not sure why he tries to pass the ball with just one hand, though. Did he have the chance to put it into two hands and make the pass a more accurate one?
A two-handed presentation was what was needed. Maybe he tried to hand off that Doncaster player, but again, a little bit of panic, not prepared to build some pressure and grind this Doncaster team.
Pretty glum-looking Halifax coach Matt Callan there. Half an hour gone, and his side being held at 4-all by the joint basement club in the championship. The leaders are level at 4-all here at the Keepmoat Stadium. Devorty bangs off Bezic, and is then tackled inside his own 40 by Tamgart. Speak, Whedon now. Whedon cut down by Matt James. Royston there to make the tackle as well. That's the 5th tackle on the halfway line. And it's Cook who puts the kick in, and almost out on the full. Patterson takes it and then booms a pass infield to Greenwood in the middle of the park. And
well,
Greenwood
nice
trying to find his way through.
Nice play to shift the point of attack, but I tell you what, Doncaster's defence was up to it. Great line across the field. Referee penalises them here now, interference at the play of the ball. As they're in, hands on the ball, holding down, climbing back on top.
Gary Ellery, the man penalised.
Where you were, you should have been first man off. Yeah, that's what I meant. Not
So Halifax
last one in,
with Frank Watine, and Frank motoring onto that ball, and a big cheer from the Fag supporters as Big Frank joins the action, hoping that he'll give the team a bit of a lift. Hemingway has lost that ball. Another knock-on. Frustration from the Huddersfield Giant, on loan here at Halifax for a month.
Well, the passing accuracy has been lower than what you'd expect, and from what we've seen in the matches I've watched of Halifax this year, so many of the passes today going behind where the man is, firstly, and behind certainly where he wants the ball to be.
Yeah, I'll let him go for that.
Doncaster have it back. It's interesting, we had a New Zealand Masters against Doncaster Legends as a curtain raiser here at the Keepmoat earlier on this evening, and the New Zealand Legends side included players like Martin Moana, Carl Hall, Mike Imanga, and Vila Matautia. And Vila Matautia would have been proud of that hit by Matt James. On Scott Jones it was. But the Don supporters were chanting for Vila Matautia after that game. How they'd love to see somebody like him wearing the Doncaster shirt.
Well, a hit
putting
like
hits
that,
like that in, yeah.
Certainly fire up both sides. We'll see with the Doncaster now. It makes them more aggressive in defence. That looked like a high tackle. Referee says play on. Bang!
That's what our game's all about, Phil. Good shots like that, physical contact. Nickname McLovin.
The penalty goes to Halifax. And maybe that bit of action from Matt James will spark this Halifax side into life. Tamgart now on the charge. Gleeson. Hemingway. Penkovic now. Penkovic just a stuttering run from him. Barker. Bezic. Bezic across the field and then runs into Scott Jones. Jones gets a grip on the Halifax number 13, or squad number 13, you should say. Here's Hemingway now. Greenwood. Matt James. Cries of forward from the Doncaster supporters, and it did seem to be that. But that's good defence from Doncaster again to drive Greenwood back. Here is Paul Smith. That's the 5th tackle. Can they come up with a kick to just find a way through this defence? Penkovic will drill one in. It pings off one, back to Penkovic, and then back, I think, with Doncaster, and it'll be the turnover, says the referee.
Hang on.
So they decided that the ball wasn't intentionally played by the Doncaster player, and then a knock-on from the Halifax man. That's the reason why we get a turnover.
Ryan Steen plays the ball. Here's Devorty again.
Hold.
Coming up to 35 minutes, and we're still level at 4 points apiece here at the Keep Moat Stadium.
Coach Tony Miller has reintroduced Alex Benson, the number 10, probably the go-forward man for Doncaster. They know that just in this last 5 minutes they can't afford a lull. They need to continue to roll downfield. And here comes the big kick to try and win them some land.
But it's straight into the arms of Haley, and then Haley a pass across the field to Greenwood, and again that Doncaster defence is up in his fate, but this time Greenwood almost escapes their clutches and gets to the halfway line. Doncaster desperately trying to get back in line. That was surely forward to Hemingway. Well, play continues with Gleeson and Tamgart now, and Tamgart spinning out of the tackle.
Well, the last 3 play the balls have been far quicker. This is now where Halifax are looking to increase the tempo.
And Matt James, who really has increased the tempo since he's come on, and he'll get his reward with this try under the posts. And Matt James, well, he's injected some urgency into this Halifax side. The supporters appreciate that. The coach probably does as well. And the Bradford Bull, who's on loan for the remainder of the season, Matt James, gets his 7th try of the season.
Well, it looks like an Olympic 400-metre runner in comparison to some of the other men he's running against in this field. Just the speed of the play of the ball. The gap behind the play of the ball was the one that James targeted. And once he clears through, he's too much power for the players to stop him. Now, I don't know whether this was a fall pass. I don't think it was, Bill. Hemingway times the run. He thought it was, but Mark Gleeson certainly now providing a little bit of diversity around the play of the ball area, stepping out to the right and then passing the ball back behind the play of the ball to James on the left.
And Lee Patterson back on target, has landed that one, and just in the nick of time, just before half-time, Halifax spark into life. Matt James, the try scorer, they lead by 10 points to 4 now. And the Fax supporters will be saying, that's a bit more like it.
It almost seems, and here we've got the try again. You're quite right. It's Gleeson who makes that try. He shapes to go right and puts James through a gap. Halifax are trying to get to the middle section of the field as quick as they can. That's why we've seen both sets of wingers look at that long pass.
Halifax have the ability to go the length again here and score, Bill. That's what they'll look to do.
Well, there's still 3.5 minutes left in this first half for them to do more damage, and that was a high shot. No, they're not square, according to the referee. It did look like a high shot.
When a team chooses to go down the middle of the pitch, they're trying to isolate and expose the bigger fellas. just looking the picture, unable to get set at marker. Benson surrenders the penalty. You'll see more and more of the big men in the middle for Doncaster dropping off tackles.
Well, Scott Smith was a bit hard done to then. I don't think Benson got involved in that play, but referee disagreed with me.
There's Big Frank Watine.
Hold. Go.
Plays the ball just on that Doncaster 30-metre line. Tamgart.
2. Move. 10 metres, Andreas. Go.
And Halifax looking to exploit maybe a tiring Doncaster side. It's been a big effort from Tony Miller's men in the first half hour here, but they are lagging behind now, and they will concede another try. And it is, this time, Saeed Tamgart, a doubt before the game, who gets the try. The French international, blood just oozing from his lip. But the penalty, way back down the field, conceded by Doncaster, and Halifax exacting full revenge.
Well, Scott Smith probably hadn't got there, had he, by the time Penkovic played the ball. He then got involved, made the tackle on Mark Gleeson, and the result, I suppose, was the Saeed Tamgart try. Gets up and plays the ball quicker than the Doncaster side can recover, and Mark Gleeson's pass options are excellent at present.
9th try of the season for Saeed Tamgart. And Lee Patterson again nonchalantly strokes that one between the posts. And Halifax, having really struggled for the first half hour here, as half-time approaches, looking a bit more convincing, leading by 16 points to 4. But probably the coach will have one or two words to say in that dressing room at half-time. But Saeed Tamgart has lifted Halifax spirits with that try.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think what he will say is shorten things up, keep it tight, keep those short swords going. No long beanpole passes. They're not doing anything to the Doncaster defence.
They're still struggling to deal with these Doncaster restarts. Almost made a mess of that one.
You're telling me that this doesn't go forward here? Look, it's great play. He throws it back inside. Well, no, maybe backwards. What an intention to think of that in the corner. Was brilliant from Halifax.
James Haley, a bit like that Australian cricketer did earlier in the year when he took a catch outside the boundary and threw it back infield or something like that. It's cricket. Vogue, I think his name was. Vogue or something like that. Here's Matt James again. He's been a real handful. Retty.
Come on, all the way, mate.
Greenwoods plays the ball. Off wicket. But play continues. Penkovic down that side. Tries to get the pass back infield. He does. Matt James keeps it alive. And it ends up in Doncaster hands. It's all to play for over on that side. Everybody's throwing it around, and it's Andreas Bauer who's trying to stay on the island as the hooter sounds.
As the referee,
hasn't heard it. He has now. That's louder than the Wigan one. And Matt Callan possibly a little bit more satisfied, but not totally satisfied by that. And